Friday's my favorite day of the week. Duh. That's when the weekday's over, the weekend has started. Friday's the day that I cook potatoes for dinner, and Friday's also the day I watched the new Wandavision episode. Wandavision is a new TV show streaming on Disney Plus that takes place in the MCU, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Wandavision is fascinating. I can't wait for the next episode, and of course, it's got me thinking about Christianity. Just a heads up, this video is going to include some mild spoilers for Avengers and the MCU, and I don't even know if this video is going to spoil WandaVision because everything that I'm talking about you could have figured out from the trailers, which by the way is so annoying. I really dislike when trailers seemingly give away the whole plot of a TV show or a movie, but whatever. Just want to include a spoiler warning because sometimes people can get really intense about that. So, WandaVision, this new TV show. I can't get too deep in the backstory of the Avengers and the Marvel Cinematic Universe because there's so much to talk about. There's literally 23 full-length Marvel films right now and so many more in production. But just to give like a brief overview, this new show WandaVision has two main characters. Wanda, also known as Scarlet Witch, who has a lot of magical abilities and a whole lot of power and a ton of personal trauma. The other main character is Vision, who's a super capable and also super attractive android. Sort of like a robot with artificial intelligence, but obviously there's like so much more to him than that. Wanda and Vision, WandaVision, are a happily newly married couple, currently living an idyllic life in a small town. Or are they? Because apparently 3 weeks previously from the start of WandaVision, there was this massive war, as shown in length in the Marvel film Endgame. And in that war, Vision died. He was killed by an alien, psychopathic, mass-murdering warlord named Thanos. Vision is dead. But in WandaVision, he's alive and well, with no memory of anything to the contrary. Suspicious yet? You should be. As the early episodes of WandaVision reveal, and the trailers, Wanda and Vision are living in a fabricated reality. Using her magical powers, Wanda has taken over this small town in New Jersey and created this fictional life, this fantasy, this happily ever after with her and Vision, who is dead? Question mark? Where everything is fine and normal and dandy and chipper. And they can be together forever. But the fantasy is starting to crumble. There's these cracks, there's these blips that are appearing in this altered state. And I have a hunch that Wanda's created reality is not gonna last long. Because it can't. Because no matter how powerful, how smart, how wealthy, how resourceful, how connected you are, you can't create your own reality. I know Wanda sort of kind of can, because she's a fictional character from a comic book with magic powers. But even then, she can't ultimately and successfully decide what's real and what's not. Human beings can't make their own reality. We just can't. We can't decide what's real and what's fake. We can't dictate what's right, what's wrong. We can't determine what's good, what's evil. It's very appealing to think that we can. It's very tempting to think so. It's actually one of the first ways human beings were tempted. Genesis chapter 3 tells the story of the temptation and fall of man. Recap. Adam and Eve, they're living in Eden. They're living in this earthly paradise. They're having a great time. There's perfect harmony between them and each other. There's perfect harmony between them and the animals and nature. And there's perfect harmony between them and God. But Adam gets lazy. He forsakes his role as protector and keeper of the garden, and evil enters that paradise. Satan, in the form of a snake, and not like a little garden snake. Scripture describes Satan as a basilisk, a leviathan, a dragon. He enters into the garden. He enters into their earthly paradise. And Satan sought to break that harmony, to rupture that union, to disturb that peace that was shared between God and man and creation. Satan tempted Eve. He suggested to her that maybe God wasn't trustworthy, that God was holding out on them, that Adam and Eve didn't even need God. They didn't need God. They could be their own gods. Satan tempts Eve. You could make your own rules. You could make your own reality. It was appealing to Eve. This offer of all this power and all this freedom. But of course, it was a false form of freedom. It didn't lead to true liberation. What did it lead to? When Eve gives into temptation, is she given all this power and all this freedom that Satan promised her? No. All that happens is Eve realizes she's naked. She's raw, exposed, vulnerable. She's not a god. She's a human being who was tricked. who's been deceived to, who's been lied to, whose weaknesses have been exploited, and who's now been left broken, wounded, and enslaved. This is what happens to us too. When we listen to the temptations of Satan, when we think we can be our own gods, when we think we can make our own reality, just like what's happening to Wanda and Wandavision, everything starts falling apart. We as human beings, we can't make our own reality. When we try to do so, it is incredibly destructive to ourselves and to those around us. What we can do is participate in the reality that God creates for us. We can live within His boundaries, His rules, His truth, and when we do so, we thrive. And this is completely countercultural. Every commercial that's advertising cars to chicken sandwiches is screaming at me. No boundaries, no rules. Break the limits, live your way. That leads to chaos. Imagine driving on a highway with no boundaries, no rules, no limits. Drivers just living their way. People driving 150 miles an hour. People driving on the opposite side of the road like we're in Europe. A 6-year-old driving an 18-wheeler. Ignoring red lights, turn signals, speed limits. That will lead to chaos, destruction, and death immediately. When we follow the laws and boundaries of driving, we have true freedom. We can safely go anywhere that we want. Imagine at this year's NBA All-Star Game, Commissioner Adam Silver has an announcement. He declares to make this NBA All-Star Game more exciting, there's gonna be no rules. And he encourages the players, play with no boundaries, no limits. Have total freedom, play your way. There's no such thing anymore as traveling or hanging on the rim or 5-second rule. Delay of game, out of bounds, flagrant foul. Play how you want. The game would fall apart immediately. Players would get hurt, and it would be boring and confusing to watch. Like, what even is going on? When we play by the rules and regulations of basketball, we have true freedom. Look at Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Allen Iverson, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson. Look at how they played and moved and created on the court within the rules of basketball. They were free. Jesus says in John chapter 14, I am the way, the truth, and the life. God is our ultimate reality, and He alone dictates reality because He's the author, inventor, creator, and sustainer of all life. When we live in the reality that God has created for us, when we follow His boundaries, when we follow His rules, we will thrive and we will be truly free. The good news is God is more than just boundaries, more than just rules, more than just regulations. He's love. He's joy. And He's peace. He wants to give us Himself and all the qualities that He possesses. He is worthy of our trust. He's not holding out on us. He's not our slave master. He's not our prison warden. He's our best friend. He's our everlasting love. And He wants us to thrive, and we will if we live in Him and live in His reality.